Hey everyone, I'm Kate Kennedy and I'm here with day 57 of 100 Days of Kane, PA. And when people move to Kane, they come for very many reasons. And today we're going to hear from Jerry Milliron how he got to Kane through the Fresh Air program, why he loved growing up here as a kid, and what he loves about Kane today. So I'm going to go ahead and flip you around. We're going to come on over here. Hello, Jerry.
Oh, okay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hey, thank you so much for talking with us today. And let's go ahead and begin with how did you end up in Kane?
Oh, I can't remember the exact years, but my sister was a Fresh Air child. She came back and forth from the Bronx, New York, and she really enjoyed it. And she stayed with the Kohut family. And she came back to the Bronx and was telling me how much fun she had coming here and how nice it was. And so I decided to try it myself and came up and stayed with Bert and June Lucor out in James City. And then June decided to get her hair cut at Shirley Milliron's beauty salon. And I went with, and I was about, I'd say anywhere between 5 to 7 years old. I can't really remember exactly. And went with, and then developed a relationship with Shirley and who's my mother, decided to take me camping and then bring me up to this area on numerous occasions. And we really had a good bond between my dad and my mother here and myself and my brother Chris. And they would come to, actually my mother and Pat Kajancic and Chris Pop, and I think it was a Lundeen lady. They would come to New York City and visit me and show me a lot of New York, because I'd never got to see it because we lived in the Bronx, and you don't see a lot.
So you were born in the Bronx.
Yes.
Living there, and your sister from the Bronx would come through this Fresh Air program. What was the Fresh Air program?
The Fresh Air program basically took children from the inner city and brought them to the country for about a 2-week period, and you got to see what it was like to live in another environment other than the Bronx, New York.
Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine coming from the Bronx as a kid to Kane for the first time. So your sister did that, loved it, told you about it, and you decided to participate, and you came to Kane. What was that like for you when you were here for the very first time?
It was a big culture shock. Like I mentioned to you before, that it would be like anybody here going to the Bronx, New York. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different world. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, I'd never seen what a house was. You know, all I'd ever seen was tall skyscraper buildings. Never really rode in cars. You know, and then never was really able to walk down the street and not worry about something happening. So coming here was a huge change to where people looked you in the eye and said hi and whatever. And, you know, and it was a lot more friendly here, and people were real receptive, real welcoming. And it was a big change, but being it happened here, I think it made it so easy because the people were very nice about coming here.
So the first time you came with the Fresh Air program, you were around 5 to 7 years old. Mm-hmm. How long would you stay?
2 weeks at a time. And then my parents would bring me up on different occasions over the holidays or different. I'd stay here for a summer on occasion. You know, just little icebreakers I'd come up for, and then I'd go back to the city, which wasn't very much fun. I'd hate to leave here and go back there, you know. So then I remember I'd keep calling here if I could, so that, you know, hey, you know, can I come back up? Or I would memorize my dad's work schedule, and so I knew when he'd be home. So I'd call, or, you know, I knew he'd be at the state store working, you know, and because it was huge. I knew at a young age already knew where I wanted to go. I was like, oh my God, I want to go back there and stay there. So yeah, it was.
So you started with the first time being 2 weeks through the Fresh Air program, got to know the Millirons. You met them through that program. Mm-hmm. And then after that, developed a relationship with them, stayed in touch with them, came back to visit them. They would come to New York City and take you around and show you the city. And then how did you end up living here?
They basically went to the Fresh Air program, and my parents, my parent in New York, and did a lot of work to get me here, and and my mother in New York City allowed that to happen because she knew what I had there and what I could have by coming here. And so she gave up that right and then let me come here, and they went through the court systems and everything like that to get me here, and put a lot of work and time into it. A lot of people did to get me here into to a better place, and thankful for it. I really am.
So you were adopted and moved to Kane. How old were you?
When I was adopted, I think I was 12, and I think I first stayed here, I think it was my second grade year. And as I remember going into school for the first day of going to school here, and in New York City, you went to school when you wanted to. It didn't matter, but here you went to school, and I remember walking in there and thinking, oh my God, I don't know anybody here. But I happen to know one person, Chris Bezak, now Chris Kajancic, happened to be there because she lived in James City when I was a fresh air child. So I actually had a friend. So it made it so, kind of comfortable the adjustment was a little bit easier with somebody knew you, so they made it, and she knew, obviously had friends there, so she introduced me and everything like that. But yeah, there was a couple people, her and Amy Softage, two people that were, they were the neighbors in James City. So
so then when you moved here full time, where did you live? What neighborhood?
Where did we on Easton Street, Easton and Fraley, right on the corner. Now owned by Becky, I think that's her name, has a beauty salon there. That was where I grew up at.
And what was it like in your neighborhood as a kid? What were some of the things that you did? Who were some of the people you hung out with? What did you enjoy about being a kid here in Kane?
Oh, my neighborhood was awesome. We had so many kids in our neighborhood. I mean, we had the Fenaris, the Pajacases, the Siriannis, the Smiths, the Bezak, the Hortons, Brinkleys, Strites. It just goes on. There was so many. And we had our own place called the Mini Park that I mentioned earlier. And we would play every sport there, mostly football and baseball. And we'd have the modern dairy would be our home run area, where if you hit it on the roof, it was a home run. And we were always playing a sport. And the neat thing is that park was like centrally located. So if your parents wanted you home, because we didn't have cell phones back then, your mother just yelled out the door. You could hear my mother yelling from the top of the hill to come home for dinner, or when I was in trouble, or whatever it was. And it was a great neighborhood. It was a lot of fun. We were active children, put it that way.
And you, as a younger kid, played football against other neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, our side of town would always go over and play either the south side or the west side, and we would beat them really bad too. I didn't mention that before.
Just to make that clear.
Yeah, exactly. But we would go over there and play them, and they'd have people like Scott Gibson, John Pasjancic, and they'd even recruit Jason John. They'd recruit people from everywhere else to try to beat us. No, we had it was really fun. We would go over there, play each other, and it was just. Kane seemed smaller at the time. Like you could always, not that it isn't today, but you were just all over playing and hanging out with each other and doing just innocent, simple things.
And there was a place that you guys would gather to play video games and things or play games by the library.
Yeah, back then it was called like Cindy's Castle. It was right beside where the Eagles and the library is there, and it had an upstairs where they would have a dance every single weekend, and they'd have video games, and everybody would go there and hang out, and and it just everybody was there, all ages, from 18 to 13 or 12, and it was a big deal. It was like a prom every weekend, I think, something like that, where it was just, you get dressed up to go see, a friend or someone you thought might be your next girlfriend or whatever, but it was fun. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah. What year did you end up graduating high school?
1988.
And what did you do after that?
Went to Edinburgh for my first year of college there, and then from there While I was up there, I had some really great experiences too, because a lot of Kane people went to either Edinburgh or Gannon. So we used to go back and forth between Edinburgh and Gannon, and we would hang out with, like I mentioned earlier too, with like Sam and Jonesy, and I think Mel Banyas was in there. They had their fraternity over at Gannon there, and we'd go back and forth. Me and Horton, Tad Haight. We'd meet with Gibson, Pete Paulson, you name it, Joe Anderson, everybody. There were so many Kane people, and like they would call us Canaanites because there were so many of us in that area. And that was a lot of fun too. I really enjoyed that. There was always a comfort level. There was always somebody there to hang out with or have a good time.
Mm-hmm. And eventually you made your way back to Kane.
Yeah.
How long have you been back?
I'd say it's probably about 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been back, and it's been an experience, a good one though. I mean, I really am happy that we moved back, or I moved back, and then I ended up meeting my wife Jill, and then we had 2 children, and it's just it's changed a lot, and your life's changed. Our life has changed a lot, but it's for the better. I think everything here is really great, especially about having a child here. And like we were discussing, how there's always somebody to take care of them if you're not always there, to either look after them or to mention something to you about what they might be doing,
Yeah, you can't really get away with a lot of stuff here.
No, you can't, because especially now with the media, you couldn't, when I was a kid, it didn't seem like, because my mother owned a beauty salon, so I'd always hear what I did wrong real quick. Oh.
Well, now that you're here, you're raising your family here, what is it that you love about Kane?
Ooh, there's a lot of things. I like how everywhere you go, there's kind of a comfort level, whether it's the school, the grocery store, anywhere, the Marconi's hardware store, it doesn't matter. Anywhere you go in Kane, it seems like there's someone there and can say hi to or converse with for a while until your pizza's done or whatever, or your burgers are ready or whatever, even going up to the restaurants, everything. There's genuine people here. There's a lot of good people, a lot of good families. There's so many. I mean, we talked earlier, every time you talk about a business, you mention how that's another good family, and there's so many nice people that have worked hard and developed good businesses in this area. That's the role models that are here, that's another great thing about the area. There's a lot of drive, and I think more of a drive now I'm seeing than there was a little while ago, but there's a lot of things, but mostly family things is what I really like about Kane.
And you spend some time outdoors too. You like being outside, so Kane seems like it's a good fit for you.
Yeah, there's even just a simple walk is enjoyable around here if you want to go in the woods, or I like to bike a lot, or get out of the area, or right out of Kane. I mean, you can go to the reservoir. That's one of our favorite things to do, or our camp in Quishiqua. There's so many things within minutes away, and just right here too as well to enjoy.
Yeah. Especially
outdoor stuff. And like my son, they go camping pretty much every other day, it seems like, this summer.
Yeah.
And
well, that's awesome. And you mentioned your son. Do you want to introduce him?
Yes. This is Mason Milliron.
Hi.
Hey Mason, nice to see you. So, what grade are you going in, or are you in?
I'll be a sophomore.
A sophomore at Kane High School, and I can tell that you love Kane too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's great to meet you, Mason. All right, is there anything, Jared, this is a fascinating story. I never had heard of the Fresh Air program, so I really appreciate you sharing that. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about or share that you didn't get a chance to?
Oh. Other than, the same thing that we've had this conversation a little bit earlier about how I really am enjoying the movement that's going on in Kane, that people are trying to, make Kane look more respectable, the businesses, the young people that are trying to do something now that I'm not the young person anymore. And like I was telling you, just kind of realizing that now, but that it's awesome. I love the idea that people are caring, and the number of businesses of people that are trying to do things in this area. That's what you want, and I just hope we keep going with it and that more people jump on board to try to help and, in any way possible. That's one of the things another thing that I really enjoy about Kane, because like I was mentioning earlier, how many good families there are that have businesses in town that have done a great job and taught their kids a good work ethic, and obviously because a lot of those kids are coming back too and starting these businesses and are trying, and that's one of the good things. I've been waiting for this to happen for a while.
Yeah, and you're an example of that. You come from a family who taught you a lot of good things, and now you're passing that on to Mason.
Exactly.
So it's awesome. It all comes around.
Thank you. Yeah, it does. It does. And I think if you put the work in, like somebody told me, put the time in now, or pay later.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the that's kind of one thing I think everybody needs to address is let's help out if we can.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome, dear. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Go Wolves, I guess.
Go Wolves. Yeah, we're getting into the season.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Mason. Good to see you today, too.
And thank you guys for tuning in. I had never heard of the Fresh Air Project, and I just love that it brought someone like Jerry here. What an asset to our community. What great memories of him growing up. I would love to hear from you. What are some of the things that you love to do as a kid in Kane? How did you spend your time? And thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you again tomorrow for day 58.